Addiction to video games, pornography, and social media primarily involves the brain's reward system, specifically the dopamine pathways that regulate motivation, pleasure, and reinforcement. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that signals reward and drives behavior toward activities that provide pleasure or satisfaction. In the context of modern digital stimulation, repeated engagement with highly rewarding content leads to a strong reinforcement loop, which can prioritize short-term rewards over long-term goals, creating compulsive patterns that are difficult to control. Understanding how these dopamine-driven loops function is crucial for addressing and overcoming addictive behaviors. Video games are designed to maximize engagement by providing immediate and frequent rewards. These can include leveling up, unlocking achievements, receiving in-game currency, or gaining social recognition from peers. Each reward triggers dopamine release, reinforcing the behavior and making the brain anticipate future rewards. Over time, this pattern conditions the brain to seek these high-intensity stimuli repeatedly. As a result, the individual may begin to experience difficulty deriving satisfaction from less stimulating activities, such as work, study, or exercise, because the brain's reward circuits have adapted to expect immediate and high-intensity reinforcement. This shift in reward sensitivity can reduce motivation for tasks that provide delayed or subtle benefits, further entrenching addictive behaviors. Pornography addiction operates on similar principles, exploiting the brain's sensitivity to novelty and sexual stimuli. The consumption of sexually explicit content repeatedly triggers dopamine release, reinforcing the desire for continued exposure. Novel content intensifies this effect as the brain responds more strongly to new stimuli than to repeated or familiar experiences. Over time, this can lead to desensitization, requiring higher levels of stimulation to achieve the same sense of reward. This cycle affects impulse control and can impair emotional regulation, making natural sexual experiences less rewarding and fostering compulsive consumption patterns that interfere with relationships, self-esteem, and overall mental health. Social media platforms also exploit dopamine-driven reinforcement loops through variable reward schedules, such as notifications, likes, comments, and shares. These unpredictable rewards stimulate the brain similarly to gambling, activating dopamine circuits and encouraging repeated checking behavior. Algorithms that personalize content delivery based on user preferences further amplify engagement, keeping attention focused on the platform for extended periods. The brain begins to anticipate these intermittent rewards, creating compulsive urges to check for new updates and reinforcing dependency on social validation. Over time, excessive social media use can reduce attention span, impair decision-making, increase anxiety, and decrease satisfaction with real-life interactions. These addictive behaviors also impact the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for executive functions such as planning, self-control, and decision-making. High-intensity digital stimulation can overwhelm these regulatory circuits, reducing the ability to resist urges or delay gratification. The imbalance between the highly activated reward pathways and the underactive self-regulation circuits creates a neurobiological environment in which compulsive engagement becomes increasingly difficult to control. The cumulative effect of these dopamine-driven loops is a narrowing of focus toward the addictive stimulus at the expense of other rewarding or necessary activities. Over time, natural rewards, such as social interaction, physical activity, or creative work, become less satisfying while digital stimuli dominate attention and behavior. Understanding that these addictions are rooted in the brain's neurochemistry rather than simply a lack of discipline is essential for developing effective strategies to regain control and reestablish balance in reward processing. Breaking free from addiction to video games, pornography, or social media begins with awareness. Understanding the triggers and patterns that drive compulsive behavior. These activities are often highly contextual, meaning that certain environments, emotions, or even times of day can act as cues that prompt engagement. Identifying these triggers is a critical first step because it allows individuals to disrupt automatic behaviors and make intentional choices rather than reacting unconsciously to stimuli. Addiction is maintained not only by the rewarding nature of the behavior, but also by learned associations between specific triggers and the act of engaging with the content. Triggers can be both internal and external. Internal triggers include emotional states such as stress, boredom, loneliness, or anxiety. Many individuals turn to video games, pornography, or social media as a form of self-soothing or distraction from negative emotions. The brain learns that these behaviors provide immediate relief or pleasure, reinforcing the habit. External triggers include environmental cues, such as seeing a device, receiving a notification, or encountering specific locations or social contexts associated with the addictive behavior. Over time, the brain forms strong associations between these cues and the expected reward, creating a conditioned response that makes resisting the behavior more difficult. Understanding one's personal patterns of use is essential for interrupting these conditioned loops. Tracking the times of day, situations, and emotional states that prompt engagement can reveal predictable patterns. For example, some individuals may notice that late-night hours are high-risk periods for binge gaming or scrolling through social media, or that feelings of loneliness consistently precede pornography use. By identifying these patterns, it becomes possible to implement targeted strategies to prevent automatic engagement and reduce the influence of triggers. Creating awareness also involves understanding the subtle ways in which addiction reshapes priorities and attention. The brain begins to overvalue the short-term reward of the addictive behavior while undervaluing longer-term benefits, such as completing work, engaging in relationships, or pursuing personal goals. Recognizing this imbalance helps individuals develop a more objective perspective on their behavior, allowing them to consciously prioritize activities that align with long-term well-being. Awareness of this cognitive distortion is critical because it highlights that compulsive behavior is not a moral failing, but a neurobiological pattern reinforced by repeated exposure to high-intensity digital stimuli. Once triggers and patterns are identified, strategies can be implemented to disrupt automatic engagement. This may include environmental modifications, such as removing devices from high-risk areas, turning off notifications, or creating device-free zones and times. Behavioral strategies, such as substituting alternative activities when triggers occur, can also be effective. Mindfulness practices, including meditation or journaling, enhance awareness of cravings as they arise, allowing individuals to observe impulses without immediately acting on them. Over time, these strategies weaken the conditioned associations between triggers and addictive behaviors, gradually reducing the intensity of urges. Awareness also supports planning and goal setting, providing a framework to measure progress and maintain motivation. By understanding one's personal triggers and behavioral patterns, it becomes possible to develop realistic plans for reduction or abstinence, anticipate challenges, and implement proactive coping strategies. Consistent tracking and reflection reinforce learning, enabling the brain to rewire reward circuits and regain control over attention and behavior. In essence, identifying triggers and patterns is foundational to breaking compulsive habits because it allows the individual to intervene at the moment of decision, rather than being controlled by automatic neural responses. This self-awareness provides the leverage needed to implement behavioral, environmental, and cognitive strategies that restore control, reduce compulsive engagement, and create space for healthier, more rewarding activities. Quitting addictive behaviors like video gaming, pornography, or excessive social media use often requires a structured approach that includes gradual reduction and external support. Abrupt cessation can be overwhelming for the brain because the neural circuits driving compulsive behavior have been strengthened over time. Dopamine pathways associated with reward and anticipation are highly sensitized, and sudden removal of the stimulus can trigger withdrawal-like symptoms, including irritability, anxiety, restlessness, and intense cravings. Gradual reduction, combined with environmental structure, allows the brain to recalibrate its reward system and regain balance, making the process more sustainable and less psychologically stressful. Gradual reduction involves setting achievable limits on the duration and frequency of engagement. For instance, if an individual spends multiple hours per day on video games, they might begin by reducing playtime incrementally, perhaps by 30 minutes each day or several hours each week. Similarly, social media usage can be managed by limiting the number of daily logins or setting specific times for checking notifications. These incremental steps prevent the brain from experiencing abrupt deprivation, which often leads to relapse, and instead allows it to adapt to lower levels of stimulation while maintaining a sense of reward from alternative activities. External structure is equally important because self-control alone is often insufficient during the initial phases of reduction. Tools such as app blockers, device timers, or parental control software create boundaries that reinforce limits and prevent impulsive engagement. Physical modifications to the environment, like keeping devices out of reach during high-risk periods or creating device-free zones in bedrooms or living areas, also reduce temptation and support behavioral change. By combining internal motivation with external reinforcement, The brain receives consistent signals that redirect attention and reward away from addictive behaviors toward healthier alternatives. Accountability mechanisms further strengthen gradual reduction. Sharing goals with trusted friends, family members, or support groups creates external reinforcement, increases motivation, and reduces isolation. Knowing that others are aware of the goal and progress provides psychological pressure that reinforces adherence to limits. Regular check-ins, journaling, or progress tracking help individuals observe their behavior objectively, identify patterns of success or setback, and maintain momentum toward gradual reduction. Gradual reduction also allows time for the brain's executive functions to regain strength. Repeated exposure to highly stimulating content can impair prefrontal cortex activity, reducing planning, impulse control, and decision-making capabilities. By gradually decreasing engagement, individuals give their prefrontal circuits the opportunity to reassert control, improving self-regulation over time. During this period, it is essential to introduce alternative rewarding activities such as exercise, hobbies, creative work, or social interaction, which provide meaningful dopamine release and reinforce positive behavioral patterns. Consistency is key in this approach. Maintaining predictable schedules for device use, structured breaks, and alternative activities trains the brain to anticipate reward from sources other than the addictive behavior. Over time, the reward system recalibrates, reducing cravings and compulsive urges. Gradual reduction also builds psychological confidence, reinforcing the belief that change is achievable, which strengthens long-term adherence. Ultimately, gradual reduction combined with external structure provides a neurobiologically informed framework for overcoming digital addictions. By minimizing withdrawal-like effects, supporting executive function, and redirecting reward pathways toward healthier behaviors, this approach facilitates sustainable recovery and empowers individuals to regain control over attention, motivation, and daily habits. Replacing addictive behaviors with healthier alternatives is a critical strategy for overcoming compulsions to engage in video games, pornography, or social media. Addictive activities are highly reinforcing because they activate the brain's dopamine pathways, creating a strong association between the behavior and immediate reward. Simply attempting to stop the behavior without introducing alternative sources of reward often leads to relapse because the brain continues to seek stimulation. Healthy alternatives provide substitute sources of dopamine and other neurochemicals associated with motivation, pleasure, and well-being, helping to retrain the brain's reward circuits while promoting positive habits. Exercise is one of the most effective alternatives because it naturally activates dopamine and endorphin pathways, providing both mental and physical reward. Cardiovascular activities, weight training, yoga, or even brisk walking can reduce stress, improve mood, and enhance focus. For individuals recovering from digital addictions, structured exercise sessions can serve as both a replacement for the time previously spent on addictive behaviors and a sustainable source of physiological reward. Regular physical activity not only supports the brain's reward system, but also stabilizes energy levels, improves sleep quality, and strengthens executive function, all of which enhance self-control and reduce the risk of relapse. Engaging in creative work or hobbies offers another source of reward while also providing opportunities for skill development and personal fulfillment. Activities such as painting, writing, music, coding, or crafting activate neural circuits related to mastery, novelty, and goal-directed behavior. The satisfaction derived from creating something tangible or completing a project provides delayed but meaningful reinforcement, which contrasts with the instant gratification offered by addictive digital stimuli. Over time, these activities strengthen the brain's prefrontal cortex and reinforce pathways associated with self-regulation, focus, and intentional behavior. Social interactions provide a different but equally important source of reward. Face-to-face engagement with friends, family, or community groups stimulates oxytocin release and promotes emotional connection, which cannot be fully replicated by online interactions. Building meaningful social relationships helps satisfy psychological needs for belonging and support, reducing reliance on virtual validation. Group activities, volunteer work, or team-based hobbies not only provide social reinforcement, but also introduce structured time commitments that compete with the hours previously devoted to addictive behaviors. Mindfulness and meditation practices enhance the effectiveness of alternative behaviors by increasing awareness of cravings and improving impulse control. Techniques such as breath-focused meditation, body scanning, or guided visualization allow individuals to observe urges without reacting compulsively. This strengthens prefrontal cortex function, enabling more intentional decision-making and reducing the intensity of compulsive drives. When combined with alternative activities, mindfulness helps the brain learn that reward can come from conscious, meaningful experiences rather than automatic digital consumption. Structured scheduling is essential to ensure that alternative activities are consistently incorporated into daily life. Without intentional planning, the brain may revert to old habits during periods of boredom or stress. Allocating specific time blocks for exercise, hobbies, social interactions, or mindfulness practices creates predictable reinforcement and reduces the likelihood of relapse. Over time, these structured replacements help the brain rewire reward circuits, shifting the focus from short-term, high-intensity digital stimuli to long-term, meaningful sources of satisfaction. Ultimately, replacing addictive behaviors with healthier alternatives is not just about occupying time. It is about retraining the brain's reward system, strengthening self-regulation, and cultivating activities that provide sustainable pleasure and personal growth. By systematically integrating physical, creative, social, and mindfulness-based activities, individuals can restore balance to neural pathways, reduce compulsive urges, and build a foundation for long-term recovery and well-being. Supporting the brain and body through lifestyle factors is a critical component of overcoming addiction to video games, pornography, and social media. These behaviors often exploit the brain's reward system, leading to dysregulation of dopamine pathways, stress hormones, and executive function. Optimizing sleep, nutrition, and physical activity provides the physiological foundation needed to regain control over compulsive behaviors and strengthen the neural circuits responsible for self-regulation, focus, and emotional resilience. Without addressing these basic lifestyle factors, attempts to reduce or quit addictive behaviors are often less effective, as the brain and body remain in a state of heightened sensitivity to stimuli and decreased capacity for control. Sleep is one of the most important regulators of brain function in addiction recovery. Adequate and consistent sleep helps recalibrate dopamine receptors, which are often overstimulated by compulsive engagement with high-reward digital content. Poor sleep or irregular sleep patterns impair the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for planning, decision-making, and impulse control, making it more difficult to resist cravings. Sleep deprivation also increases stress hormone levels, particularly cortisol, which amplifies the drive toward immediate gratification and compulsive behaviors. Establishing a regular sleep routine with consistent bedtimes, minimizing exposure to screens before bedtime, and creating a sleep-friendly environment enhances cognitive control, reduces emotional reactivity, and provides the mental clarity necessary for deliberate behavior change. Nutrition plays a complementary role by stabilizing energy levels, supporting neurotransmitter synthesis, and promoting overall brain health. Consuming balanced meals that include complex carbohydrates, proteins, and healthy fats ensures a steady supply of glucose for brain function, amino acids for neurotransmitter production, and essential fatty acids for cell membrane integrity. Irregular eating or overconsumption of refined sugars can exacerbate fluctuations in blood glucose and dopamine signaling, which may intensify cravings and impulsive behavior. Hydration is also important, as dehydration can reduce cognitive performance and increase irritability, further weakening self-control. By maintaining a nutrient-rich diet, the brain receives the building blocks it needs to restore reward system balance, improve focus, and strengthen executive function. Physical activity provides both direct and indirect benefits for overcoming addiction. Exercise naturally stimulates dopamine and endorphin release, providing a healthy source of reward that can replace the neural reinforcement previously derived from addictive behaviors. Cardiovascular exercise, resistance training, yoga, or even brisk walking not only improve mood and reduce stress, but also increase cognitive flexibility, attention, and self-regulation. Regular physical activity also helps mitigate the physiological effects of prolonged sedentary behavior, such as impaired metabolism, low energy, and disrupted sleep, which can otherwise hinder the recovery process. Combining sleep, nutrition, and exercise creates a synergistic effect that supports neuroplasticity, allowing the brain to rewire circuits associated with reward, motivation, and self-control. When the body and brain are functioning optimally, it becomes easier to resist compulsive urges, implement behavioral strategies, and sustain long-term reductions in engagement with addictive content. Attention, memory, and decision-making improve, creating a positive feedback loop in which healthier behaviors are reinforced and maintained. Managing lifestyle factors also reduces vulnerability to relapse during stressful periods or moments of boredom, which are common triggers for addictive behavior. By ensuring that the brain and body are well rested, nourished, and physically active, individuals strengthen the internal resources necessary to respond adaptively to cravings rather than reacting impulsively. Over time, these consistent lifestyle practices provide stability and resilience, forming the foundation upon which other behavioral and cognitive strategies for addiction recovery can be successfully implemented. In summary, optimizing sleep, nutrition, and physical activity is not ancillary, but central to recovering from digital addictions. These lifestyle factors support dopamine regulation, executive function, stress management, and overall brain health, creating the conditions necessary for successful behavior. Social support and accountability are essential components in overcoming addictions to video games, pornography, and social media, as they provide external reinforcement, motivation, and structure that the brain alone may struggle to generate during recovery. Addictive behaviors often exploit the brain's reward system, creating powerful compulsions that can be difficult to manage independently. While internal motivation is important, human behavior is strongly influenced by social and environmental cues. Supportive relationships and accountability mechanisms help maintain adherence to recovery strategies, reduce isolation, and create conditions in which healthier patterns of behavior can take hold. Trusted friends and family members can serve as a source of encouragement, guidance, and monitoring. Sharing recovery goals with someone who understands the challenges of addiction introduces an external accountability mechanism. Knowing that another person is aware of progress and setbacks increases motivation to follow through on commitments, reduces the likelihood of giving in to compulsive urges, and provides a sense of responsibility beyond oneself. This social reinforcement strengthens the brain's executive function by creating additional consequences and rewards linked to adherence, which helps retrain decision-making circuits that have been conditioned toward immediate gratification. Support groups offer a similar but broader social reinforcement. Groups composed of individuals facing comparable challenges provide validation, shared experiences, and practical strategies for overcoming cravings and avoiding relapse. Hearing about the successes and struggles of others helps normalize the recovery process, reduces feelings of shame or isolation, and creates an environment in which adaptive behaviors are modeled and reinforced. The collective support found in these groups can amplify the effectiveness of individual strategies, such as gradual reduction, replacement behaviors, and lifestyle optimization. Professional guidance from therapists, counselors, or addiction specialists further strengthens accountability by providing structured frameworks for recovery. Cognitive behavioral therapy, motivational interviewing, and other evidence-based interventions help individuals set realistic goals, identify triggers, and develop coping mechanisms while offering ongoing monitoring and feedback. Regular sessions create a rhythm of accountability, ensuring that progress is tracked and adjustments are made as needed. Professionals also provide objective perspectives on behavior patterns, helping individuals recognize cognitive distortions or rationalizations that might otherwise sabotage recovery efforts. In addition to formal support, establishing clear routines and public commitments enhances accountability. Scheduling device-free periods, planned activities, or alternative rewarding behaviors within a structured daily plan reduces opportunities for compulsive engagement and reinforces consistency. Logging progress, whether through journaling or digital tracking tools, provides tangible evidence of success and motivates continued adherence. Celebrating milestones with supportive peers strengthens positive reinforcement loops, helping the brain associate adherence with meaningful reward rather than immediate digital stimulation. Social support also helps manage emotional vulnerabilities that often trigger addictive behaviors. Stress, loneliness, or boredom can create a heightened drive toward high-reward digital activities. Engaging with supportive individuals during these periods provides emotional regulation, distraction, and a sense of connection, reducing the likelihood of relapse. By integrating social reinforcement with behavioral strategies, the brain gradually reassigns reward value to healthier interactions and experiences, decreasing reliance on compulsive digital stimuli. Ultimately, social support and accountability create a scaffold around recovery, complementing internal motivation, cognitive strategies, and lifestyle changes. They reinforce behavioral consistency, provide emotional resilience, and strengthen the neural circuits responsible for self-regulation. By combining these external mechanisms with gradual reduction, alternative rewarding activities, and physiological optimization, individuals significantly increase their capacity to resist compulsive urges, maintain long-term behavior change, and reclaim control over attention, focus, and daily life. Over time, the presence of supportive relationships and accountability structures not only enhances adherence, but also reshapes reward pathways in the brain, allowing natural, social, physical, and creative rewards to replace compulsive engagement with video games, by integrating social support and accountability with behavioral strategies, lifestyle optimization, and alternative rewarding activities. Individuals create a comprehensive framework for lasting recovery. These external reinforcements help retrain the brain's reward system, strengthen self-regulation, and provide emotional stability during challenging moments. Over time, the combination of internal motivation and supportive social structures empowers individuals to sustain healthy habits, resist compulsive urges, and replace digital addictions with meaningful, fulfilling activities that enhance overall well-being, focus, and life satisfaction. Pornography or social media. By integrating social support and accountability with behavioral strategies, lifestyle optimization, and alternative rewarding activities, individuals create a comprehensive framework for lasting recovery. These external reinforcements help retrain the brain's reward system, strengthen self-regulation, and provide emotional stability during challenging moments. Over time, the combination of internal motivation and supportive social structures empowers individuals to sustain healthy habits, resist compulsive urges, and replace digital addictions with meaningful, fulfilling activities that enhance overall well-being, focus, and life satisfaction.